So this question is asking to give the equation of the ellipse with these certain properties. So we know that the center is going to be at the origin, or 0, 0. We know the foci are at 0, positive 6 and 0, negative 6. And the vertices are at 0, positive 10 and 0, negative 10. Okay. It may help to draw the graph here, right? So no, remember, we're only given the foci and the vertices, right? So we're going to have to use those to actually get the equation. Okay. So let's just go ahead and plot these out, right? So the vertices are at 0, positive 10. So we notice that's going to be the horizontal axis right here. Okay. So let's just plot the vertices at 0, 10 and 0, negative 10. Okay. Remember, the vertices are always along the major axis. So we can conclude here, right, that the major axis is vertical, right? So essentially this will be a football, right, or an oval that is standing on its tip, right? It's going to look a little something like this. Okay? We also know that the foci are at 0, positive 6 and 0, negative 6. Right, so that means that we have to find, right, what is A, what is B, what is C, and then put those into the formula. Okay. Now remember, there's two different formulas, right? It's x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared is equal to 1. And the other formula is x squared over b squared plus y squared over a squared is equal to 1. And what's the difference between these two? All right, remember, the key point to remember is that a is always bigger than b, right? So the bigger number, right, should always be below the variable that is the major axis. Right? So what does that mean in this case, right? Well, we know that the major axis is vertical, right? We know that the major axis is vertical. So which equation do we want? We want this equation right here, right? Because A is always bigger than B, and it should always be below the variable which is the major axis. So the vertical axis or the y-axis is the major axis here. Okay. So that means that this will be incorrect, right? We don't want that one. Right? So we notice in the formula itself, all we have to do is sort of just plug in the values of A and B. Well, we actually know what A is, right? Because A is 10. Right? That is where the vertices are. Right? Remember, you got to be careful with this, right? With this, the foci are C units away from the center. So in this case, C is equal to 6. Right? So then how are we going to find B? Okay. And you need to memorize this formula, right? The relationship in an ellipse between A, B, and C, C squared is equal to A squared minus B squared, always, for an ellipse. Okay, so this will allow us, right, to find the value of B. Right, let's just plug in the values that we know, right? 36, or 6 squared, is equal to 10 squared, which is 100, minus B squared. All right, so let's do a little bit of algebra here. We'll take B squared, which is 100 minus 36, right, which is 64. So then what does that mean? It means that B is the square root of 64, which is 8. Okay. So, I mean, we don't need to do this, but essentially this point here would be 8 comma 0, right? I know this is not drawn exactly to scale here, and that point there will be negative 8 comma 0. Okay. All right, so now we should be able to plug in all these values and essentially get the answer, right? What the question is asking for. So x squared over 64 plus y squared over 100 is equal to 1. And this is going to be our final answer here. This is the equation of this particular ellipse with these properties.